Hello everybody and welcome back. Apologies it's been so long before I did a video. Just been so busy at work and the weather as well. I mean, it's probably one of the wettest summers I can remember, but the garden is just overgrown, completely overgrown. The peppers that I planted in the middle, the sweet peppers, the potatoes have actually grown over the top of them, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know if the peppers are still okay. I really need to get out here and spend a good day really sorting things out. We've had loads of tomatoes and salad, onions, etc. So we've been harvesting what we can, but to actually get out here and work in between work, which has been so busy, and the weather hasn't been very easy. But today's video is about something different. As you know, the channel's about self-sufficiency. That isn't just about growing food, and I by chance have ended up with a week to myself, so I'm going to go off and enjoy it and do a bit of self-sufficiency or survival type things. We're not going all Rambo, we're not going hiding in the woods and things like that. We're going to a campsite and we're going to practice a few skills that, from a self-sufficiency point of view, are important. But first, I'm going to get some veg. So I'm going to get some spuds and some tomatoes, onions, things like that, and I'll take them with me. Okay, it's time to go. Oils have been checked, filled up with diesel, got some spare fuel, tyres have been done. It's time to hit the road. Long way to go. So come on old girl, get me there in one piece, eh? If you get me there without breaking down, I'll wash you. How about that? Last time I took this old truck to where I'm going, the back wheel fell off on the motorway at 70 miles an hour. So let's hope we get there without any problems. It's a long way. It's going to take me probably 10 to 12 hours with stops. So let's crack on. So in true trip to Scotland tradition, I've had a minor issue which I can fix, but the return line to the power steering pump has been rubbing on a pulley and worn through, and now it's leaking. So run out of oil in the power steering. I do have some oil. It isn't power steering oil, it's actually automatic transmission fluid, but it's the closest grade oil that I've got, and hopefully that will do until I can get sorted further on the journey. This service station I'm at now doesn't sell oil, not at this time of day anyway. That shop's shut. So I've got some duct tape that I can patch up the pipe with. Fortunately it's the low pressure side, not the high pressure side, otherwise that would be a much bigger problem. So we'll get that done. Okay, so this pipe was rubbing on that pulley and basically lost all the oil out of the power steering, and I noticed it on the motorway and I thought I'd better pull over and have a look, and that's what it was. So that's low pressure, that's okay. I have got a spare bit of pipe in the back if I need to. I might do that obviously at some point when I get further up the road. You can see it sprayed a bit of oil everywhere. A few years ago I had a problem there and I had to weld it up. That's the high pressure side. If it was on there, that'd be a much bigger problem. So going to set off again, see how we get on. So I've learned over the years with this truck that when you're on a long journey, wear an old black t-shirt, because you can just wipe your hands on it when you've finished fixing the truck to get you where you're going. Alright guys, it's about 12:30 at night and I'm at Hamilton Services, which is just south of Glasgow, Scotland. So about 10 miles south of Glasgow. So pretty good progress really. About 4 hours to here. It's about normal. 4.5. And I'm gonna have a bite to eat, have a sandwich that I brought with me, and then get some fuel, because at this time of night, once I get past Glasgow, en route to where I'm heading to, my destination, I'm not certain what fuel is going to be available in that, what garages are going to be open at this time of night. So I've got about half a tank at the moment. We've done about 250 mile so far, so about halfway to where I'm trying to get to. So a bite to eat and get some fuel and then carry on. So it's 20 to 3 in the morning, and we've been through Glasgow, Stirling, Perth, and we're now on the A9 on the way up to Inverness. Just dip my lights, there's a truck coming. If you can see there's like a posts all the way along the side of the road with red markers. They mark the edge of the road when the snow comes in the winter. We're actually quite high up here. We're in the middle of the Cairngorms National Park, which, if you could see, there's mountains all around us, but obviously it's pitch black. Right, carry on. Well, it's 5 in the morning and those lights through the trees, that's Ullapool, and that's where I'm gonna start my week away. Probably have a couple of nights there, and a fantastic little town, small town, with a port and a ferry that goes across to Stornoway, and it's really quite far north on the west coast. So I'm going to base myself there for a couple of days. Now I can't check into the campsite just yet, it's way too early. I think it's probably 11 o'clock or something that you can book in. So pulled over in a lay-by, gonna have a bite to eat and try and get a couple of hours sleep, and then go down into the village later. Well, what a cracking day. Just been sat here watching the harbour really. The ferry from Stornoway's just come in and loaded up again and gone out. We've got the Ronja Sky over there, which is a fish farm supply boat. It goes out to all the fish farms and in the sea supplies and brings the fish back, etc, etc. That's loading up, ready to go out. A few fishing boats come in and out, and I've booked myself onto a boat trip around the Summer Isles tomorrow. Do a bit of whale watching, hopefully. Well, I've been in the tackle shop, fishing tackle shop this morning, and the guy tells me that there's a pod of dolphins off the Summer Isles which is stopping the mackerel coming all the way down the loch, and because I'm going to try my hand at fishing later. I'm a keen fisherman. I don't get out and do it very often, but when I come up here I love to have a go. But he says that these pod of dolphins are out on the Summer Isles, so booked myself on a trip for tomorrow morning. A couple of hours out on a boat with other people obviously, and so you can see some whales, dolphins, seals, etc. Seals you can often see from the shore up here. It's a fantastic place. So I'm just waiting about another 20 minutes and I'm going to go book into the campsite for a couple of nights, and then I think in a couple of days might move on up the coast, but that'll be later in the video. So this is my view from my camping position. I'll put my tent here, got my vehicle here, and I can go down there later, have a fire on the beach. I can do some fishing. Everything's good. Something there. I think it's a whale of some sort. Wow, that's camp set up mostly. You can just see the truck in the background there and my tent. I've deserved this. So what was it in the end? It was about a 10-hour drive through the night, but what a reward, you know. And I'm just looking now at the beach and look at all this seaweed. It's everywhere. We know what seaweed's good for, don't we? For the garden. I'm thinking towards the end of this break I might load up the bags that I've got full of logs with seaweed and either put it straight on the garden or add it to the compost. So I've had a walk along the beach, probably a quarter of a mile or so, where there's less people, and we've got the wind in our face, so that's always a good thing with fishing. The food's been blown this way on the surface of the water at least, so the fish might follow that. The other thing is, it's a red hot day and it's a bit cooler for me with the breeze. And at this end, because of the way the current and the wind is, there's no seaweed blocking up the shoreline, which is going to make it a lot easier for me to fish. So probably the most common fishing knot I use is a blood knot, and if you've got an eye, now that could be your hook, or in this case it's a swivel snap link. Basically wet the line. That just helps it slide into a knot better. Through the eye, and then wrap the bite, which is this piece. The short end is the bite, or the forming a loop is the bite, like that, and then get the shorter piece, and then wrap round 5 times. You can do 6 if you want. Then get the loose end, put it through the eye in the line that you've made, like so, and then back through that one and pull tight. And when you've finished the knot, it should have a nice noose look to it, if that'll come out on the camera. Probably not, but you can see, hopefully you can see what I'm trying to achieve. And then, as with all knots, especially near the hooks, cut off the loose line, but don't just cut it and let it blow away. You know, this is plastic at the end of the day, it's nylon, and it's going to end up in a sea creature at some point, and then probably in one of us. So snip it off into your tackle box or wherever and get rid of it at a later date. So on that snap link, I've been advised by the man in the tackle shop, and the thing is, local knowledge is always best. He fishes this area, he knows. Do be careful though, because sometimes locals don't want you to know the best place, but I think he was a genuine guy. He's recommended these. So you've got 5 lures or so on a setup, on a rig, and what we need to do is untangle it all. So in sea fishing, you often use more than one hook, and the reason for that is you've got more chance of catching something. And this is going to take me a minute to untangle, so I'll do that and then I'll show you when it's all set up. And there's the Ranger Sky, the cargo ship that we were talking about earlier, heading out to sea. Finished loading and off it goes. So I'll give it a good go for an hour or so here, and so as you can see, the tide's coming in, and I'm not in any danger. I can just scramble up these rocks behind me, but I'm going to have to move soon. But it's nice in this breeze. And if you ever go camping in Scotland, make sure you camp in a breezy area. If you go in the months of, say, April, September, because otherwise the midges will eat you alive. And the clegs. The clegs are a bigger, like, bug thing that bite you, and it hurts quite a lot. A bit like a horsefly, if you've ever been bitten by a horsefly. So yeah, pick a breezy spot to camp, or camp by the coast, because you're generally going to get a breeze then. So I think I'm going to wander back to camp in a bit. I'm going to start thinking about tea. Now, it's a self-sufficiency video, supposedly, even though it's really my holiday, but I failed to catch any fish, so I'm going to open a can or something. Basically, I've just brought cans as a meat source, and I've got the vegetables from the garden, so I'll open a can or something, because I'm so tired now as well. I've been awake, I don't know, nearly 2 days, so just want to get some food in me now, and then sit on the beach later and have a fire, have a couple of beers, and probably get an early night. So this stove runs on petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, kerosene, paraffin, pretty much everything. You just change the jets, and it's a high quality stove I used to use when I did a lot of mountaineering. And the reason I went for a fuel source like that, you know, petrol type source, is that it doesn't freeze very easily. And when you're up high mountaineering or in winter, the little gas canisters that you get for your normal sort of camping stoves just freeze up. And fuel, depending where you are in the world, fuel for this you should be able to find. You can buy service kits for it. Every seal and part you can change and fix and repair. And I've had this about 20 years, and they're not cheap. It was probably 80 quid 20 years ago for the stove, and then the bottle was on top, but they are very good. And if you are going remote, then you've got more chance of finding diesel or paraffin or something like that than you have finding replacement gas cartridges for your stove. That's why I use this. A bit of rain this morning, but slept like a log. I was just out for the camp. Just the rain woke me up about 6:30, so I've just set up that temporary tarp over the back of the truck so I can make drinks and have some breakfast. The water's really still, so hopefully the whale watching trip today will be good. Just do the rain stopping really. Well, the weather's definitely taken a turn for the worst. Just had quite heavy rain, the wind spun 180 degrees now coming from the sea, and a few tents been blown around and awnings on motorhomes, etc. Chairs flying across the campsite. So hopefully it'll calm down before the whale watching trip. I'm going to have to head into town soon and see the owner of the boat to find out. So the boat trip is going ahead, and this is a map of where we're going to go. So starting at Ullarball and going around all these islands, the Summer Isles. Looking forward to that. And this is the boat we're going on, the Shearwater. So looking forward to it.
These guys have their babies in summertime, which are born dark coloured and swim pretty much from day one. They're only with mum for a few weeks. During that few weeks, mum loses 50% of the baby's weight, and the mum gets a very rich milk seals on cetacean now. Years, Sammy's changed shape, colour, species and sex.
That trip on the boat was fantastic, and the weather improved, as you can see, and a bit windy out there, a bit chilly, but really good. And the crew, the guy doing the commentary, very, very knowledgeable, not just about the wildlife but the area, the history, you know, the people. Really, really good. So so highly recommend them if you're up this way. Sheer water cruisers, and really good time. We saw white-tailed sea eagle, and they think that on the trip that I was on they found another breeding pair, so hopefully they have, and that's going to help the population, because they did become extinct in the UK, and now they're through help with people like the guy on the boat, they're making a comeback. And interestingly, as I've mentioned before on this channel, my hands are curling up, and I know I'm a descendant of the Vikings, and up here in the Highlands apparently a lot of people suffer with this. It's treatable, it can be cured, it's not a problem, but and he was saying that, you know, it's a Norwegian or Scandinavian ailment, let's say, and it's from the rowing that they used to do of the longships. That's how they think it, and it became part of the genes and passed down through generations. So, out on the summer isles where we've been, the Vikings would come through those channels in bad weather to try and shelter from the storms a little bit. So really, really good trip. Saw some seals and various other seabirds, as well as the white-tailed sea eagle. No whales or dolphins on this trip, but it was quite choppy out there, so that makes it harder to spot them, obviously. So I'm back in camp. I'm going to have a drink and then decide what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. Okay guys, I need to start thinking about some food for tonight. So, some of the veggies I dug up. So I'm going to have a carrot. In fact, I'm going to do that carrot because I've obviously chopped that with a spade, look, so I can go in. We'll have, these are the Charlotte, these are the second lot that I planted in the ground, not in the pots, and they're okay, not as good as the one in the pots, I must admit. So I'm going to do 3 of those potatoes. And pulled this parsnip up. This was one of the first ones that I grew in the cardboard pots and planted out probably February, if I remember right. So I think what I'm going to do there is snap off one of these roots if I can. No, I have to get a knife on that, but I'm going to cut off one of those, maybe that one, and then give it a peel and chop it up and put it in. So what I'm going to do is make some kind of stew tonight. Like I said, I've got some tinned meat if I don't catch any fish, which I'm going to do after I've cleaned these. I'm going to do a bit of fishing. So I just thought I'd throw some veggies in. I've got some onion and garlic as well from home, which I'll put in there, and just make a stew type meal. So I'm going to go wash these now. So, just looking in the camera there, and I've got burnt, haven't I? Wow. Okay. It has been nice today, actually. After that rain this morning, it brightened up and it's been pretty good. So, I was going to book in for another night here, and I went up to the office to pay, and while I was there, I just said, is it okay to have a fire on the beach to do my tea? And they said no. And I said, well, a few years ago I was here and loads of people were having a little fire on the beach, and they're not allowing it anymore. People leave a mess, and it's always the few that ruin it for everybody, isn't it? And you know, if everybody operated a leave no trace policy, you know, get rid of the last bits of the fire or let it burn out completely, and you know, leave no rubbish, take only photographs and leave only footprints. That's how it should be. But the beer and curry brigade like to have a fire and leave the mess, and they ruin it for everyone. So that's kind of made up my mind. I'll be moving on in the morning, and I'm probably going to head north to a little wild camping ground that I know, where you can't actually have fire on the camping ground, but the beach right next to it, I'm pretty certain if I went down there and had a little fire, cooked my tea on there, that'd be fine. And there's some fantastic snorkeling there as well. So I've got my GoPro. I've never used it underwater, but we'll see how we get on, and do a bit of snorkeling. Well, good morning. Another cracking day. I think it might get a bit of rain later though. About 10 o'clock. It's currently about 7:45 in the morning. So I've managed to find a campsite that I'm going to move to today, which isn't very far. It's only a few miles. Again, it's by the beach. Not sure if you can have a fire on the beach at this one, but for the next 2 nights it'll be fine. And then I've booked another campsite for a night, sort of moving a little bit towards home, and then another one for 2 nights, moving a little bit further again towards home, and then it'll be time to actually go home after that. So I'm going to have some breakfast and have a slow pack up, and then probably walk around Ullapool for a bit, and then move on to this other campsite. Alright, I'm at my second campsite of the trip, called Ardmar, which isn't very far from Ullapool actually, and I just fancied a change. I've been there for 2 days and time to move on. So I've got set up, gonna have a cup of tea in a minute, and quite a nice campsite. Lots of room for tents. It's definitely not as busy up here this year as the year I came before. And so that sea over there, that's pretty much, it's the same as where I was yesterday. It's still Loch Broom, and out that way you've got the Summer Isles where I went on the boat. And this campsite's actually on a point called Ardmar Point, and so we're surrounded by sea, and it looks like the locals have got their boats in this little bay. I'd love to have a little boat like that. And this is a gardening channel, so look at that for a polycrop. Obviously this is the owners. I think that must be their house, campsite owners. And that's their polycrop. Very nice. I wish I could have one. I've got to finish building my polytunnel first. Right, let's get the kettle on. And I've just thought that earlier in the video I said that I was going to head to a wild campground today called Shigra. And I was looking online last night about it. I've been there before, and it was fantastic. And when we were there before, a lot of the camper vans, big motorhomes, were getting stuck. Now this is down a really quite rough track in the middle of nowhere on private land, and it's all a grassy area, sloping and what have you, and people are taking motorhomes into these places. And they were getting stuck the last time I was there, and chewing up the track and the grass and everything. And when I was doing some research last night, the Moor Trust, which is a trust in Scotland which looks after certain land and environment, etc., they've now closed the gate to vehicle access. So you have to leave your car or vehicle on the village side of the gate and walk, which is probably a good quarter of a mile or so. Now, if I had come set up with hiking equipment, as in a lightweight tent and things like that, I'd have probably still gone, but I haven't. I brought my bivvy and car camping equipment, I call it, you know, where you pull up and you open the back of your car and you set up your camp. And I thought, well, I'm not going to drive 60 miles north, which is probably going to take, on the roads around here, which are all quite slow, a lot of them are single track, it's probably going to take me a good 2.5-3 hours, only to then have to lug everything quarter of a mile to set up. So I've decided to scrap that idea and camp here instead. But as with the fire on the beach situation, yet again, people with no respect or common sense for the environment have ruined it for everybody. And the little village near there, Kinloch Burvey, used to get a lot of trade from people going to Shegra to camp a few nights, enjoy the beach and the snorkeling and everything else. And I suspect that that has now been seriously curtailed because people can't get their vehicle into this campground. So if you are going to go to Scotland and you're going to go away from the main roads and the major cities and towns, and you're going to go camping, and you're going to, or hire a motorhome maybe, and just be sensible about where you take it. These things, you know, they're not brilliant on the road, so they're not going to be very good in a field, especially if it's been raining and it's wet, or on a dirt track, etc. If you want to go to those sort of places, you need to have a four-wheel drive. It's common sense, but yet again, the few have ruined it for the majority. And I'm certainly noticing a difference on this trip to the last time I was here, in that it's becoming more and more and more restricted in what you can and can't do. Years ago, you could come to Scotland and you could do, you know, you could have a fire on the beach, you could pull up and put your tent up for the night and then move on the next morning, leave no mess. And what they've done is they've created this route called the North Coast 500, the NC 500, which goes basically from Inverness and all the way around the coast. And I did it a few years ago. And since they've done that, it's attracted every man and his dog. And obviously that's good for the local communities and their revenue, you know, cafes, bars, restaurants, campsites, hotels, etc. But it is attracting people that maybe have no understanding of where they're going or what they're doing, and they don't think ahead, because you do need to be prepared if you're going to come up here. We're not in the middle of nowhere, as in, you know, we're not in Alaska or somewhere like that. But when I drove the other night all the way up here, from leaving Perth area, which is still sort of halfway up Scotland-ish, still south-ish, all the way to Ullapool, I didn't see a single garage that was open. So that was probably about 150 mile. No garage. So you do need to have some provisions, and you do need to think it through. So if you're going to come up here, it's a fantastic place, but if you're going to hire a motorhome or bring your own motorhome, just be sensible where you take it, because to get towed up here or rescued will probably take quite a while as well. in certain areas. And I mean, this road you can hear in the background over there. Years ago that was never as busy as it is now, and it's all because of the traffic doing the North Coast 500. So whinge over, I'm going to have a cup of tea, and then I think we'll go do a bit of fishing. Wow, look at that sky. It's looking pretty black. If you look over the other way, it's not a lot better. And I've spent a lot of time up here over the years, climbing and mountaineering as a younger man, and most of the mountains around here I've been up, and I can tell you one thing, and that is the weather can turn in a heartbeat up here. And I've just checked the forecast again because it can change so quickly, and this morning they were saying sun and showers basically. Now they're forecasting thunderstorms, 70% chance of thunderstorms, late afternoon, evening, into the evening. So what I'm going to do is set up an additional tarp on the front of the bivvy, so that I've got a covered area just outside of the bivvy to cook. It doesn't look like I'm going to be down on the beach tonight having a fire, not with the forecast that they're putting out now. So I need to prepare something there so that I can cook and have the door of the tent open and not get soaking wet, and sit there and enjoy the thunderstorm and lightning, hopefully. So there we go. Made a couple of stakes, various bits of cord, paracord and guy ropes, some attached to the pegs of the bivvy and the poles of the bivvy, some attached to the truck. Just whatever was the easiest and closest point to attach the ropes to. So you want to make sure it's tight as you can get it, so that the wind goes over or under it rather than turns it into a parachute. Not always easy, but also the water runs off a lot better. I've not gone right to the ground with it because I want to be able to see what's going on, but also I want a breeze coming through here because of the midges, and that's something you have to consider in Scotland and other places, but mainly Scotland in the UK, is the midges will eat you alive if you don't have a breeze. So, you know, you can wear head nets, you can long sleeves, long trousers, you can put on all manner of different insect repellents, but they'll get you. They'll find a way. They will get you. So that's set up for tonight. It's time to go fishing. Okay, so we've had one. He's not very big. I mean, what's that, 6 inches? If you could get another 4 or 5 like that, that's a good meal then. But caught that using white feathers. So we've got 5 hooks or 6 hooks on the rig, white feather. So I'm going to change the rig to a slightly different colour, because obviously the mackerel are there, they are in the lock, but I'm not getting any more hits. And normally when you get into some mackerel, then you're in the mackerel. So I'm going to change the rig and see if that makes a difference. I've done is parboiled the potatoes, added the onion and garlic, put some vegetable oil in there because I've got olive oil, and I'll give it all a good swish around, and then as soon as that kettle's finished, I'm going to put this on and fry it all off a little bit, get it all flavoured. I've got some salt as well that I'll put in, and then the last thing I'll do is I'll add the mackerel. Right. Well, I've got to say, that was absolutely brilliant, that meal. Quick, easy. The garlic really is good, really strong. The mackerel was fantastic. And the mackerel was only in the pan probably 5 minutes, if that. It wasn't a very big fish, you know, it wasn't that much meat on it, but very nice. I need to catch more of those tomorrow now. Now I've got my eye in. Hopefully some more will come in down the lock overnight. They're obviously starting to get past those dolphins that are up there, up at the Summer Isles. So, fantastic meal. Probably not enough to keep me going. I'll probably have something else a bit later. I've got some sausages I bought earlier on, so I can always put those in the pan, fry them up. But a whole meal, free, you know, self-sufficient meal, if you like. Grew the vegetables, the onion, garlic, potatoes, caught the fish. So it's a feel-good factor thing, you know. It can be done, hard work, but it can be done.